If you fight with a guy, they'll be like, oh, do you PMS? Are you on your period?
All of the things, trying to walk my walk, following my own advice, our own advice. It's still a bumpy ride, right?
What piece of advice would you give them? You're laughing because you probably did it.
I've been there. Though life can be amazing and wonderful and there's plenty of adventure ahead, there's also some hard things that we're going to go through.
I like that. Welcome, Dr. Lynne Mouw, to Midlife Mix.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Yeah, so you are a chiropractor, author, co-host of the Life After Kids podcast, and you've managed to build a community for women figuring out, who they are after raising kids. And, for anybody out there wondering what comes next, this conversation is for you.
I've spent most of the last 4 years trying to figure that out and helping women to answer that. So yes, let's do it. Let's dive in.
So when the kids do move out, a lot of women ask themselves, now what? So how, in your own experience, how did that transition look for you personally?
Well, for me, it started long before the actual empty nest. We, Dr. Brooke and I, my partner in Life After Kids, were taking a hike about 4.5 years ago now. And our kids were already at the age where they were really independent and doing their own thing. And we were starting to feel that those first initial nudges of, hey, we're not needed here as much. And we have this empty space and this time to reflect and maybe more time for self-care. But we're still in this mom mode where we are not focused on ourselves perhaps. And so we were talking about this and thinking, if we're feeling this way, there have to be other women that are feeling the same. And so as we walked down that mountain on that day, we came up with the idea of exploring what does come next for us and for other women, helping them to find their way and turning it into an online brand where we help to bring tools and resources and whatever we can curate to help women find that. So in that process, I mean, honestly, the business, the brand has become a part of what was my next. And so it's so ironic that the actual problem that we started out with has become the solution for me. My daughter just left home. I have an older son. He's a stepson. And I'll be honest with you, the last 4 years, as much preparation as I've done, emotionally, physically, all of the things, trying to walk my walk, following my own advice, our own advice, it's still a bumpy ride, right? It still feels a little bit like you're stepping into a void. You're giving over the reins as such. You've done all the work. You trust them. You know they're going to be fine, but it's literally the act of just really letting them go and letting them falter a little bit, perhaps, or, embracing the struggle for them and for you as a mom. And finding my way, I think we're about 45 days into this. We just had the book come out, so it's been very busy with that. And that's my personal story. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm in this phase of life as well. My son is in his second year of university. And I think what surprised me so much about this phase of life, and that I wasn't expecting, because like you said, like before you even become an empty nest, like you're almost like a semi-empty nest because they're always out. Like they're not around. They're not hanging out with you, right? They're always in their room or they're out with friends. But when their presence is gone, like I didn't realize how much it was going to hit me at that time because I'm very busy. Like I have like 3 different careers basically on the go. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to be fine because I'm going to be doing all this stuff. And then he left and I was almost like stunned. I'm like what? He's not here. I don't have to I'm not making him dinner. And I remember like grocery shopping and going down the aisle. And I'm sure every empty nester mom has had this moment where you reach for their snack, the one that you always sort of have to get. And you realize in that moment you don't have to get it. And it's just like, cue the tears.
Just hits you right here. It's funny you say that, and it's the little things, right? And rationally, like I can so relate with what you just said. Even talking about it for 4 years, and I'm still in this space, thinking, gosh, this just feels weird. And I think some of the biggest advice that we've given women in this space, if you're right in it, like I am, or just about to be, is to give yourself a full 6 months. Don't make any rash decisions. Don't make any changes that are permanent or possibly semi-permanent, because you really need this time to just let the dust settle, sit in the uncomfortableness, get used to that, instead of making a rash decision to maybe like jump into something new or try to get that to go, those feelings to be pushed aside. And I think, we're just sitting in it and marinating in it and getting used to it right now here.
So when you, like you said, we're going into October, so they've been gone for a while. When you first became an empty nester, what surprised you most about being an empty nester in that phase of life?
I think it was the mix of feeling really, really excited. My husband and I have been working on our relationship, and I know you're going to ask some questions about that, and I'm excited to bring some value in that realm. And we, all of a sudden, all of these avenues open up. Like, we can go out to dinner on the weekend instead of going to do the school activity, or, just impromptu getaways, or, making decisions where previously the family calendar was all scheduled out, and being really excited about that. And at the same time, watching my daughter struggle a little bit and feeling really guilty. And I think the place that I came to in settling that is you can be both. It's okay to feel very excited and be happy about your future and start to build, spend the time investing with your spouse or friends and getting out and doing new things, starting the new hobbies that you've been holding off on doing, and feel really weird and uncomfortable for them as they are trying to navigate their own space on their own. It feels odd, and that mom guilt kicks in, I think, but you can do both. It's natural and normal, and I think I just think knowing that, if I was told that, I kind of had to figure that out on my own, but I think if I had been told that and knew to expect it, it wouldn't have created so much ripple at first for me.
Mm-hmm. I think for a lot of women, especially if they were stay-at-home moms throughout their, children growing up, that one of the top ways they define themselves is I'm a mom, and I'm a mom first. And for some of them, I'm a mom in totality. So for those women, but not just for those women, but for every woman who are moms, how do they go about redefining themselves outside of being a mom once the sort of role shifts where, you're kind of parenting from a distance?
It's a great question. And we have, like I said, Dr. Brooke and I have done a lot of work on this to help make this really practical and easy for women to lay out the step-by-step journey for this. And it starts with self-awareness. It just starts with knowing a little bit more about how you're wired, and not just your likes and your dislikes, your preferences, so to speak, but also things that you may not know about yourself, like what are you actually really talented in or gifted in. Our mom quiz for moms, can help identify that, and also how you go about life, how you form relationships. Is it from the angle of your life is about your friend network, or for other moms, we call those our remarkable relators. For other moms, they're hardwired to get in there and do things, execute on it. We all know those moms that can check off a to-do list like no other, right? And their caring is through doing. We also have another type of moms that are more, we call them our awesome analyzers. And they just think and are strategizing through their day. That's how they process and basically, for lack of a better word, lead their family and lead their life, is through deep thinking and giving things really careful consideration. And things are going to look a little different for them as far as this empty nest. And then we can't forget our magnificent motivators too, those are the people that are highly charismatic. These are our moms that, without even trying, they're the ones that can get people to follow them, maybe join a committee or go out and fundraise. There's these are talents, basically, so to speak, that we may not know about ourselves. So it starts there. And then I think the second piece of that, in addition to knowing your strengths, it's very helpful to know your things like your Enneagram, which we talk a lot about on the podcast and in the book. These are ways and tools that you can dig around the corners of the things you already know about yourself, but there are some coping mechanisms, there are some quirks and cool things about you that you may never have considered. So we talk a lot about that, and just starting with that self-awareness. I think the second step is to determine your non-negotiables. Know exactly what it is that you want for your life vision, because if you don't start by planning that and creating that mentally, and what is it that you want your life in the next 5 or 10 years or 15 years to look like, even if it's not huge lofty goals like I want to run a marathon. Not every woman is going to do that. But what feelings do you want to create more of in your day? Do you want more laughter in your day? That's an excellent goal. But if you don't say that, if you don't lay that down, in writing is what we recommend, and we have our goals framework that helps women to do that, you are more likely to be carried on the wind. And in 5 or 10 years, who knows where you'll end up, versus starting with a plan and beginning with the end in mind. As far as women, it can be scary and off-putting for us to set goals, and I almost wish there was a better term, because it's a very masculine term, right? Setting goals and setting the numbers and all of that. It can be very business-minded. It doesn't have to be. And I'll say it again: if you don't have a plan and a life vision, you're far more likely to get off track. So that's definitely the second step. And then I would say, lastly, the next piece about this whole phase of life, and there was a landmark study, most of your listeners have probably heard about it, I'm sure you have as well, from Harvard, the long-running study where they looked at happiness and what exactly brings that about in a life. And they charted these young men, and I think there was almost 1,000 of them, and it went over almost 70 years, I believe. And it's, at the end of the day, the thing that makes us happiest and most fulfilled is our relationships, hands down. It's the thing that separates us. And so I think it's really important to begin that after you've looked at yourself, become more self-aware, you've set a life vision. Now you can start to create this network of people who are aligned with the same values that you have, with the same vision that you have, and begin to experience that richness from those relationships.
And is this something that you help your viewers and your listeners and your readers with? Like, what happens, they do the quiz online. I took the quiz. I think I was a doer. Is that one of them?
Yes, diligent doer.
I'm a diligent doer.
Dr. Brooke is that. I am an awesome analyzer. See, it takes all of us to make the world go round. Okay,
so if I'm a diligent doer,
yes.
And what does that mean?
That's a great question. So, I have my book right here. So we go in depth about this in I want to say it's chapter 8. But diligent doers they feel an immense sense of achievement and accomplishment through the completion of tasks. That's a simple way to say it. You are hardwired to do things. Doing is caring for you. You're that mom who, if someone comes to you with a project, they trust that you will see it through. You're going to get it done, and you can probably handle many things at once. And more than likely, I think one of the biggest pieces of self-awareness for this is that, I have some people in my life that are diligent doers, and their whole life they will tell, oh, you need to just take it easy, calm down, you're doing too much. at the end of the day, there's immense joy for you, more than likely, and a lot of energy that comes from doing things, completing things, taking complex projects on and breaking it down into pieces and checking it off. And so it's a really good, I think, a piece of self-awareness, because retirement's going to look very different for you than it would be for, say, a remarkable relator. Maybe the traditional type of retirement is not healthy for you, and you need to know that, right? So my husband is a diligent doer. When we go on vacation, this is a great example. For years, he was like, man, we waited all year to go on this trip, and I'm here and I just can't relax. And what's wrong with me? I'm sitting on this beach and this should be amazing. And we learned this information, and we decided to, instead of fighting it, lean into it a little bit. So while his to-do list is far shorter on vacation days, he knows he has to wake up in the morning, and he should do a mini workout. He should do an email or two, or read something that's inspiring to him. He's got a little checklist that he's made for his vacation. He checks it off, and then guess what? He can relax and enjoy. So hopefully that sums up a little bit about what a diligent, does it sound familiar?
Yeah. It's funny because I had that retirement conversation with my family when I was home in the summer. And they're like, well, when are you going to retire, Rachel? I'm like, that's not even in my vocab. Like, I'll be one of those people that work till I drop. I don't know. It's just not, it's not in my genetic makeup.
I think it's like, if we could see that we're uniquely talented in these different ways a little bit more clearly with this language, that I feel that's one of the best things I believe that this does for us. It opens up communication channels for us to explain ourselves and for us to understand other people better. So to your family, if they had that awareness, they would not maybe question that. They're going to know and help foster and give you opportunities and stoke those fires, because they see that it's, while it may not be right for them, this is a great move for you, and to stay busy, to stay productive. And that's how you get energized.
So true. So as my son was getting ready to move out for the first year, so now he's in second year, my husband would be like, uh-oh, Rachel, you're not going to have your buffer anymore. You're going to be stuck with me. And it's funny because when you do become an empty nest, it does have an effect and a change on your marriages or your partnerships once the house is quiet. How do you think being an empty nester affects sort of, your marriage or your partnership?
Yeah, I think it's so individual, but it absolutely is a big shift. And it's also an opportunity. So I think for the women that are listening, regardless of where your relationship is right now, just know that there are things can change in an instant, right? For different couples, there's a lot to work through, and for some it's easier than others. So I definitely recognize all those changes, but the biggest thing is to just get aligned with your life vision. So the same type of exercises that we take our women through, we encourage them to involve their spouse or their partner and bring them into that. And when you can share that same vision, that has a powerful way of uniting us. And we can sort of face the world arm in arm instead of front to back, which is a lot of times, I think, where in the couples that I've seen and coached, where things go wrong is somewhere along the way they're not on the same team any longer, So it's definitely a transition time. The best piece of advice I can give you is just to schedule in not only your date nights, but if you do any sort of working together, or there's family talk or house talk, or all the details of life. So one of the tricks that my husband and I did, we started this years ago actually, but it's really been a lifesaver today, especially because we work together, is we have our date nights, which are fun, romantic, we're just letting loose time. And then we have our coffee breaks, which are our sit down. Usually it's on a Friday, might be a Thursday. We get out to a coffee shop we each have our to-dos or our, listen, this has got to get done, or this is a problem, we got to try to solve it, or matching calendars. And we have this little agenda that we go through that is more of a tactical, practical conversation, and we get that out of the way. And then we go out to date night on Friday and Saturday night, and whoo, it's much freer, and we don't bring up that stuff. It's been sorted, and we can get to the business of stoking those romantic flames again.
I think it almost takes more effort as an empty nester couple than obviously when the kids are around, because when the kids are around, especially when they're younger, there's all the activities, you're going to and fro, there's school, there's doctor's appointments and all the rest. And a lot of the times, you get so caught up in that, you just push everything aside, and then the kid is gone, and then you're like, oh, guess we better talk about that now. But I think you also have to try harder, because, especially because you talked about you and your husband, but it seems like there's a lot of commonalities there, right? You're in business together. For those couples who are polar opposites, like my husband and I are polar opposites, okay? Like he loves to go running, biking, all the physical things. And I'm like, why don't we just go get a little sweet treat for me? Like I noticed it's so easy to get caught up on just running into our individual lives now that we don't have that commonality of having, our son at home. So one week, I think I had all these events like ABC night, and he had something, and I'm like, okay, so this is your schedule. Here's my schedule. I guess I'll see you Sunday. Like it literally was like a whole week where we were just like passing ships in the night. So I made him take me to a pumpkin farm, which I think
fun.
he hated every second of it. But I'm like, I don't know, like I tried, but it's just, I guess you have to do those things because, you think everybody's like, oh, you're empty nesters, you're honeymooners, you're probably like having naked Tuesdays and like having all these date nights and stuff. But that's not the reality of it, like after decades being together, you grow, sometimes you grow apart, and I don't know, it's such a tricky phase of life. So.
Yeah, so I share that very practical habit that we've established and tell you that it helps, absolutely. And you can take that and adapt it, whoever's listening, for however it would work with your spouse. But I will also tell you, you're so right, that, there are still those weeks where we're like, wait now, like our dog just had surgery last week and it was all about that. And I didn't, see him, and we weren't connecting until, we finally pulled together on the weekend. And I will say that we are exactly opposite too. Even though we share a lot in the business, we are totally different people. And we had to learn that very early on. I think our success in working together was very much dependent on knowing how different we were and accepting that very early on. And so I just want to share, I think it's just, again, coming back to you have to find the things that you have in common. He loves to sit and watch football, and that's not necessarily something that I love to do, but there's going to be one thing. There's a couple that comes to mind, and they're very, very different. And then somehow they stumbled on this love of cycling, and neither of them were athletic or at all inclined that way, but they tried it out and it turned out that they loved it. So just experiment with stuff, give yourself time, try to have fun with it all. There's something out there for both of you, and you just have to find that common ground.
You are a woman of many roles. You're a mom, you're a stepmom, and I was shocked to see and hear that you're a grandmother as well. How have these sort of different family roles shaped the way that you see midlife?
Yes. So I'm a Gigi to 4 littles.
Oh my gosh.
And I just adore them. And it really does, I'm obviously a young grandmother. So my oldest grandson is almost 10. So if you do that in reverse, my daughter was 8 when he was born. So it's given this like really incredible duality to my midlife. So I feel like I've already flashed forward to many women. The normal progression is you raise your kids, you send them out off to, the next step, wherever that might be, military, college, trade school, work. And then you wait a few years patiently, and then the grandkids come along. and presumably you have a lot of time to devote to them. I would say that however you find yourself in that grandparent situation, it is as rewarding as they say it is if you're not there yet. And then, unfortunately for our point of view, we haven't had as much time to devote to them. So we're very excited to get that time now that our daughter's schedule is, obviously our daughter's moved out. It's very, what can I say? They're joyful. You get a second round at almost, being a parent in the essence. It's so cliche. They get to come over. We feed them junk and they stay up late, and then we send them home to mom and dad. Like, it really is that fun. But it's also, you let go of that pressure that you have as a young mom, and so it's very freeing. And I think it's also really a beautiful thing to see your children as parents. It's sort of a full blossoming of who they can become, and it's one of my personal life's biggest joys is just to see my son and his wife be these incredible parents. So yeah, it's, and definitely they, we talk a lot about son-in-law and daughter-in-law relationships too on our podcast, because it can be tricky. But it's definitely dependent on good communication and being there to help, and also just having your own life, not placing so much pressure on them to fulfill you as a woman, right? With your adult children. I think that's really important, because you become more attractive to everyone, including your adult children, when you have a purpose outside of them, when you have something that lights you up on the inside that you get to go and do, whether it's a job or a hobby or volunteering, whatever it is. There's so many options available to you. And so I think that's a piece of advice I would share. But just prepare for like a really beautiful season when you do get grandkids, for the most part, and you get to nurture again, and just it helps you're shaping these new people in a new way. So it's like a lot of times when we talk to women, it feels like a door is closing, a chapter is closing, but in many ways the doors are just beginning to open.
Yeah, well, I will look forward to that phase many, many years in the future. Can we touch upon, the way that we are dealing with different physical changes, hormonal changes during this time in our life? You're a chiropractor and a health expert. So I wanted to talk about what are the biggest physical changes we are dealing with right now, and emotional changes that could affect the way that we are living our life and parenting.
Yeah, that's huge. And have you noticed it's such a hot topic right now?
Oh my God, you can't
Right?
read anything, turn anything on without
No.
the words perimenopause or
Yes.
menopause
Yes, it's
flashing across the
everywhere.
screen.
And I'm like, were we not talking about it before? But I think we weren't. I'm not sure we were. And so it's really refreshing to have this open conversation about this where we can share, so that we know what's normal, or what we can prepare for, right? I think that's really important. I think that obviously physically midlife is very defined by hormonal shifts, menopause. We've got changes in metabolism. We've got changes in our sleep. We've got changes in our energy. And I think that that's its whole animal, because basically that's what are you putting in your body? How are you moving your body? And then there's this other piece with our emotional health, because it very much ties into your physical health. So I think you can't really examine one or address one without addressing all three if you're trying to do your self-service. We have a whole chapter in the book on energy and health and sleep and taking care of your body properly. And I wish Dr. Brooke was here, because she's really the expert. She just loves health and nutrition and women's health in particular. I love it as well, but I speak to more of the purpose piece, emotional piece. So that's where we make a great partnership. But yeah, I think the key is just knowing that it's the first place to start. And we even talk about that in the book. If you're struggling emotionally, but also not having good energy and sleeping, go back to your health, start there. Because the finding new purpose or finding what's next for you, that's more of a top tier need. That physical piece, you've got to square that away first and foremost. Address that, and then you can get those ample resources in your body just energetically to be able to devote to some of those other things.
Why is it important for the people in our lives, whether that's our spouse or our partners or even our children, to not only know and acknowledge, but to understand what's happening to us? We talked about hormonal shifts and metabolism and all that. Why is it important for them to understand what's happening to us and how this could affect our relationships?
Well, it is definitely huge. Because hormones impact mood and your patience. They're definitely going to impact the amount of energy you have. It can even obviously affect the intimacy that you have with your partner, right? I know, most women know that there are times when you just feel very quick to be irritable or less energized. And there are days when we can most certainly blame that on our hormone shifts. I think it's really important to know your cycle. Mindy Pels, I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, but she wrote a really great book called Fast Like a Girl. And there were some great takeaways from that. But one of the biggest takeaway that I took in that book was just really becoming familiar with your cycle, even if you're postmenopausal. You're still going to have shifts. And I think women maybe aren't aware of that. As readily. This isn't going to affect just you. It's going to affect your relationships for sure. I think communicating that, but I also think it's really important, and I say this with absolute love. It's really important not to use it as a blanket excuse, right? To really reflect like, okay, what is actually going on here? I'm irritable, and, kind of sit and think like, what is happening? And if there's really no other conceivable reason, then yes, it may be hormonal, but make sure that you're addressing all of the pieces to that irritability, and not just because it can be taxing for loved ones to just, if it's like, oh my gosh, this is just my hormones. So try to get very familiar with your body, get a great functional medicine practitioner near you who can actually do some deeper testing to find out what's your baseline, where are your hormones, where are you starting from, start to track your cycle so you can communicate, okay, this is where things are at. Getting to know your body, getting to know your own hormonal, taking ownership of your hormonal landscape, and then making sure that it's something that you're not just, blaming everything on.
Yeah, on both sides too, right? Because you sort of grow up, or not grow up, but like you're in these relationships as you're younger, and then if you fight with a guy, they'll be like, "Oh, do you have PMS? Are you on your period?" And now when you think about like this phase of life, they'd be like, "Oh, she's just hormonal. It's just that time of life," and you'd be like, "No, it's because you're a dick." But you're right. You can't just blame it on hormones, but on both sides, right?
I love that you brought that up. That's good perspective. And it's true. And I'm sure that is, that can be a tendency instead of like in any conversation, instead of like digging deeper and like, what's going on here? The men in our lives can have a habit of doing that. So yeah, I agree.
And I think there was a phenomenon, it's called gray divorce, right? And
yes.
I've been seeing podcasts where, women when they reach perimenopause and menopause, they just they just draw a hard line in the sand where they're like, nope, not doing this anymore. And, whether it is because of, hormonal changes or maybe just outlook changes, this phase of life really does, could have like serious implications for your relationship.
Absolutely. And I think that it can be really visible, like you said, to your point, when this transition happens, you can't really, there's no distractions away from what's happening in the relationship. It becomes very transparent what is there, what we have to work with together, right? And if there is a huge value misalignment, that is difficult to overcome. And previously, two people can work together in a relationship when they have the binding pull of the kids and the kids' needs. When that is taken away, if there is a value mismatch, that is very often what can pull people together, apart. So just knowing your values and knowing that, obviously I'm not a marriage counselor, but I would say you pick that person for a reason. And my best advice is to go back and try to recall what that was about that person that you were so initially attracted to, and what you loved about them. Because very often, and the old cliche, we're right, like opposites attract, and we're finding something in that person that we feel completes us. And there was a really great book, and the author's name is escaping me, but it's called Strengths-Based Marriage, and it was amazing. If you are in a place where you picked a good person, hey, if you picked a person that's just like a jerk and cheating on you, or there's addiction issues, or a number of any other problems that are just unsurmountable, no, but if you picked a good person and you just have fallen away from them, that's an excellent book for you both to read. I would really recommend both parties reading it to be able to find your way back together, because, as I said, there was some reason you picked each other in the beginning.
That's right. We all just have to get rid of our perimenopausal brain fog and remember. So when we talk about connection and connectivity, you guys have a widely successful podcast, A Life After Kids. You also have your book, which you've mentioned, your online community, which is vast and very popular. So why do you think women crave connection so much at midlife?
Oh, because it's fundamental to who we are. It's at this phase in life, can we say it? Like, we've made a little money, we've seen a little success, we've checked those boxes, and at the end of the day, we know that it doesn't fundamentally bring us anything other than just some joy, absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's the people that you are sharing life with that matter. I think we're thinking ahead, and we're realizing, though life can be amazing and wonderful and there's plenty of adventure ahead, there's also some hard things that we're going to go through. And the satisfaction of knowing that you are doing life with women who not just you have small talk with, or you can play pickleball with, and those things are fun too, and those friends are important, but to have the friends that see you and hear you and are those meaningful, deep connections, I think, are so satisfying. They're the people that are going to be in your corner no matter what, and you're going to be in theirs as well.
What is one message, if somebody is just finding your podcast or finding your book, what is one message you hope every midlife mom hears and takes away if they tune into you for the first time?
It's a great question too, Rachel. I would say it's this: you are not finished. Life is not over as you know it. This is just a pivot point and a time for redefining yourself. And it's the beginning of a new chapter that can be even richer and more vast because of the experience, that perspective that we're bringing to it, and the resilience that we're building as we go through life.
What would you say is one of the most unexpected joys about this season of life?
I think for me, it's been simple joys. So the simplest of things, like a hot cup of something that I have every day. Like I switch it in and out. I'll have like this, I have this like chai drink. I'm waiting for the weather to cool down here in the Midwest, but it hasn't gotten there. But a steaming hot cup of something, that just is simple, but you can sit and breathe and drink it, and you have time to just reflect and be, right? We're human beings, but a lot of times we've been human doings. We've been doing a lot of things, and I think it's just the joy of taking time to be, to get outside, to look up at the sky when you're walking your dogs and breathe. I feel just more a sense of that time being available to me to do that. The focus on ourselves instead of fully on our children and our families. And I also think that there's a lot of joy just in having all the choices that we have. So much of our earlier years were dictated by, what our kids, and still for me and many, your careers, but we have this new door, as I've spoken, open. And that might be whether or not you choose to travel, or you want to pursue a new passion project, or, pursue different types of relationships, or just to reinvent yourself. I think there's a lot of incredible joy in just knowing that you get to write the script for yourself for what's next.
I like that. Write the script for yourself. And lastly, if you had to give one piece of advice to somebody who's just starting out on their empty nest journey and, are still crying in their sons or daughters' bedrooms, empty bedrooms, what piece of advice would you give them? You're laughing because you probably did it.
I've been there. And then the awake at 1:30 in the morning, worried, and, you think you're going to sleep really great when the kids get older. It doesn't always happen, right? No. You still have those sleepless nights here and there. And then you mentioned the kids' bedroom. Do you have like the door open, door closed controversy? Like with the bedroom, like, do we leave it, well, she still lives here, so let's leave it open. But when I walk by, it's like, no, I don't want to think about it.
I know it's true. My son's bedroom is in the basement.
Oh, okay.
I go down there to get something. I'm like, oh, sometimes I just go there and sit on his bed. And I'm like, what am I doing?
So my daughter's bedroom's right on the way to mine every day. And I just like peek in there and just kind of, I've been, immersion therapy, I guess. Mm-hmm. I'm now immune to it. But I think the advice I would give is going back to what I said earlier, which is take a solid 6 months and just feel it. Just feel it all. Part of life is just, this is a transition, and any transition is going to be bumpy. When we go through bumps or any transition, it's not just like a straight, oh yeah, we're going to be great. You're going to have some days that are awesome. You're going to have some lows, and it'll sort of take this trajectory if you just keep giving yourself some grace, working on yourself a little bit. Take some of the exercises that we've given you in the book or on our website when you're ready, when you can mentally get there. Start in with that and just breathe, and don't make any major changes for 6 months. Just expect things are going to feel like they're in upheaval, and it's okay. I think that's the best piece of advice. And then beyond that, if you do that, then one day you're going to wake up and you're going to think, I can feel hopeful about the future, and I can see some of these opportunities ahead for me.
Mm-hmm. And I think too is sort of, if you are in a partnership or a marriage, to maybe not necessarily lean on one another, because let's face it, moms and dads are very different, I find, when it comes to this stage of life. When looking at my own experience, but other friends who are going through it as well, it seems like the husbands and the fathers are always like, yep, good, out of the house. They're kind of embracing it, whereas the moms... Whereas the moms are obviously a little bit more teary and emotional about it. And just realize that it's okay to have different opinions about this phase of life, and, I guess help each other as much as you can.
It's so great. And I think it's a lesson that you can't get all of your needs met by one person, including your spouse. You need your friends, you need your friend group. So if you haven't been investing in that, you need to start. because it's going to be really important for you as you age. And you can't get all your needs met from your adult children either. You're going to need something else that comes in, touches on your strengths. It gets you excited to get up every day. Whether that's your work, it could be your job as it is, and you just wanted more time to, really go deeper into that and maybe reach out for a promotion or do something you haven't done. Or again, just it could be volunteering or starting a nonprofit or beginning an online business brand. Whatever it is, you're going to need something for yourself too. That vehicle that helps you feel alive and is the way that you're going to put yourself back out into the world in a meaningful way. And you have something that's completely unrepeatable. You, all of us listening to this, and the world needs your talents. And you would do well to look at those and find that vehicle to give it back to the world and make a change.
Good. And for those just starting out, how can people find you if they want to reach out?
Yes, you can you can find us on Instagram at life.afterkids. Our website is lifeafterkids.com. Let's see, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube. I think it's Dr. Brooke and Lynne on TikTok. And our podcast is wherever you can listen to your podcast, Apple or Spotify. And it's the Life After Kids podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I really appreciate it. And everybody can, look forward to life after kids. There is life.
There is life after kids. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to speak with you today.
Thank you.